Good morning.
Afternoon.
Hey, it's after. It's already afternoon. Yeah, this week I have a friend. She's a nurse. So she got a patient, an Ebola patient.
An Ebola patient.
She's in Kayunga. She went to Kayunga for placement. So she worked night, and she says they got a patient, Ebola. And so I asked her, were you called to respond to the patient, or the patient just came? You didn't know that the patient had Ebola. So she told me they called them to respond to the patient. I think they had already known that there's someone with the Ebola account. So my first question was, how did you say I had protective gears? You're aware about them. So I asked her, which ones? Because the picture I have, the picture of Ebola, the protective gears. They are not the ones for COVID. I think COVID is. We used to have a mask. Yes, you put on gloves, and yeah, you know you're basically what? Protected by for Ebola. It's a serious one. Yeah? You have to be sure that you are really safe. Yes, you cannot get it by transmission through the air, but anytime you can touch someone, anywhere, any food from someone. So it is a serious one. So she told me in the conversation, she told me, after all, we shall all die. That's where today's discussion is coming from. That this friend of mine told me that after all, we shall all die. When I asked her about the protective gears, so realizing that probably I might be pressing her about protective gears. She said, after all, we shall all die. I told her this week I was inboxed. There is a new isolation unit at Molino. It has just been constructed. It has not been there for such things. Those communicable diseases, Ebola, what and what they have constructed, just new. So it doesn't have staff. So they inboxed me this week, knowing that I had finished internship, whether I want to work there. Whether I want to work there. Yes, but of course medical personnel are trained to but I said no. Yes, because one thing that comes to your mind is what? It is an isolation unit. Whenever there is an outbreak of anything, they bring. So you are at risk all times. So yeah, people accept it, but me, I said no. So why? Because of my friend told me, after all, we shall all die. So then I told her, by the way, not all of us shall die. So she inboxed her and told me, tell me more. So the opportunity has come to tell her more. So now, when we go to First Corinthians 15, when we go to First Corinthians 15, First Corinthians 15, verse 51. First Corinthians 15, verse 51.
51. 51 says, listen, I tell you a mystery. We will not all sleep, but we will all be changed.
Anyone with another translation? Another translation? Listen, I tell you a mystery. We will not all sleep. We will all what? Changed. Another translation. Anyone with? Living translation. New. Some translations will say, we Listen, I tell you a mystery. Others call it a secret. We are going to explain that. We will not all die. Hmm? We will not all die. It's a mystery. But we will all be changed. Now, those three statements, a mystery, we will not all die, we will not all, we will
All
be
be changed.
changed. All be changed. First of all, let us begin with 1 Corinthians. When you're handling 1 Corinthians or Corinthians, all the books that were written to Corinth, you are dealing with the beloved, Paul's beloved church. This is the church he loved most. Yes, and because he loved it most, he wrote a lot of letters to this church. And these in the Bible have two books, but actually they are not two. These are not two books as we have it today. There are many fragments joined together into two books. Into two books, yes. And when you read them, they'll give you evidence. For example, when you read the first chapter, he will tell you, in my first letter, he will show you that there are other letters that he sent. In my first letter, I said this. So now, these are many. He wrote many books. Many letters to that church. So now, chapter 15, it's surprising. It tells you that now, brothers and sisters, I want to remind you. So he's talking to the audience he has been talking to always, both physically and through what? Through letters. You understand? I want to remind you. It's a continuation, and he's talking to people who are not unbelievers. No. He's talking to what? To Christians. When you're reading Corinthians, you're reading a letter that was written to to Christians, and that has implications in the theology he's telling you in that book. The debates that are in Corinthians, they are not debates to save people. Let's first understand this. The debates in the book of Corinthians, whatever, there are many verses, questions always come from the book of Corinthians. The debates there are not debates to save. They are debates to clarify those who are saved. You understand? In Corinth, they were already Christians. These are people who had what? Who had already believed. So when Paul is writing to them about marriage, he's trying to clarify. To advise the saved about what? Marriage. So whatever is there is whatever the conclusion. Whatever you understand about his discussion about marriage, it is not something that will determine who is saved and who is not what? Saved. Contrary to the people who always approach us with these questions, they are what? They are bringing questions from the book of Corinthians to tell us that we are wrong. We are not going to be saved. Have you read this verse? That abakaba n'abenzi. All those verses are not about our salvation. No, they are written to people who are already saved. So Paul is saying, I am reminding you of the gospel I preached to you. Now, three elements we are going to get from this discussion. Number one, the first important thing he's mentioning, which is a mystery in itself. There's a mystery we're going to look at 51. The first one is Christ died. The gospel he preached to them. By this gospel you are saved, if you hold firmly to the word of I preach to you. Otherwise you have believed in vain. What is that gospel? Verse 3. For what I received I pass on to you as of first importance, that Christ died. Ekintu ekisooka omukristaayo kyatalina kwera. And what makes a Christian, and what is puzzling everyone, which is one of the pillars of Christianity. There are three pillars of Christianity. If anyone ever asks you to stand up and talk about Christianity, please don't stand up and talk about dress. Don't stand up and talk about drinking. Don't stand up and talking about raising children. you are expected to talk about three things. Number one, that God came. That God came. Yes, it is only Christianity that teaches that God did what? Come. Yes, elsewhere it is not this is a revelation, as we're going to see. That when I talk about a mystery, when Paul says, let me tell you a mystery in this context, it is anything that can only be revealed by God. You don't know it until God reveals it. That's a mystery. You don't know it. You can, and that's where the difference comes. That you can be good at creation, at studying creation. Yes, and you can know about God, about creation, but you will never know this mystery that Paul is talking about when you look at creation. You understand? So a mystery in the New Testament sense, it is revealed only by God. You can only know it if God reveals it. It is not found in science. Therefore, if you are a scientist and you are an atheist, yes, you know, but this mystery you don't know, and you can only know if you accept God to reveal it to you. And that's how the Bible becomes necessary to even an atheist who is okay, who does not commit adultery, an atheist who has a good job, he's good in society, he contributes to society, he has contributed somehow to solving problems in society, and he thinks he doesn't need God. No, to know this mystery, he must accept for God to reveal himself this mystery. And one of them is that Christ died. That's a mystery. Now, who is saying? It is Paul who is saying. It is a mystery itself that Paul is also saying that. Yes, because who is Paul? We know that Paul was a Jew, was a Pharisee. Now, Pharisees, the word Christ means Messiah. We are just recapping. He said, I am reminding you. So, the word Christ means Messiah. For a Jewish Messiah to die, if there is a Jewish Messiah who will ever die, that Messiah does not exist. In Jewish theology, a Messiah does not die. Yes. So there is no way you can say Messiah died. Messiah cannot die, because the function of the Messiah, the responsibility he has is to save, not to die. Yes. So when you talk about the Messiah who died, you're talking about Christianity. You're talking something new. You're talking a revelation. You're talking a mystery. That God came. God lived among us. He ate our chicken and chips, according to the times. He ate our chikomando. He ate barbecue here, live, not the other one that used to come with smoke. You remember? He came down and ate the barbecue. He lived in our rags. You see? Yes. He moved among us. He did whatever we lived. That's pillar number 3. Pillar number 3. That 2. Pillar number 3. God died. After dying, he resurrected. That is Christianity. That is the whole sum up of Christianity.
That when God
came 2, he lived among us and ate what we do. He went to the toilet, the way we go to the toilet. You see? When he was still young, he would urinate on himself. You see? He learned how to urinate, to control urine. God himself, you understand? He would vomit. Yes, as he was growing, he would vomit. God. He learned how to do this. God. Now, if it is an audience of Jews, and you're talking to Jews, when you say God came, I have to go out. But they cannot listen to that nonsense. You understand? They go out. So when you say now God lived among us, he defecated like us, he urinated, he learned how to urinate, like to control urine like us, he would fall sick and vomit, and yes, Kati, the other half has gone. You're left with what?
Half.
With a quarter of the whole psalm. Now, when you mention that he died, Bonanga bagenda. A resurrection, Rujafuna go chigaba. You understand? Katibia bitu Paulo byabali mining abibulira mikwano gye. Otherwise a Jewish audience bagenda mukuba amayinja teri asobola bukola ki biwuliriza. These books are to his friends, those he can always remind. You understand? So the first one, the first secret, that Christ died. That is the secret. Judah cannot explain it because it is a pillar of Christianity. It's only Christianity that teaches that what? Christ, God came and what? And died. 2, he lived among us and he ate our food. He defecated like us. 3, after living like us, he died and then he resurrected. Now 2, in 51, Paul comes and tells us that another mystery is coming. Now, the first mystery has implications, serious implications. What does it imply? It implies that this God we call supernatural, after he had created the heavens and the earth, after he had created everything, another power came in. Another power came in. This power, we don't know where it came from, and we have no answers, because the revelation we have starts when God is creating. You understand? But now the revelation shows that another power, another intruder. So questions will come. How can there be an intruding power in the area of a supernatural God? How can there be, if God is supernatural? We have even coined those words omnipotent, omni what? Yes. He is, if all powerful, how can there be another intruding power in his area? If creation is all his area, how can there be another power? So the revelation that we have tells us that after God had created, another power came in. Now, what did God create? By his will, without asking anyone. We emphasize those things because they answer a lot of questions that we normally receive. It was out of his will, and that will has been interpreted by some as love. So, out of his will, after he had created, what did he create? He started life. So, when you're talking about life, you're talking about living, you're talking about time. And in one sense, when you're talking about life, you're talking about God extending himself in various ways. Let me dwell on that. When you're talking about life, you're talking about life, you're talking about God himself extending himself in another form. When something has life, that thing has God. Life is only comes from God. It can only be given by what? By God. It is himself. It is time. Or budde. No wonder we normally say kyamujje mu budde. Yes, yafudde. So obudde bwoyina, life is time you have, and that time is an extension of God himself. You understand? Because after God had created life, another power came and annihilated life. Nti Katonda nga amaze oteekawo obulamu, ne wabaawo amaanyi amalala agajja ne gajjawo ki? Obulamu. Death is annihilating life. Katonda bw'ato, let's imagine Katonda n'atonda gwe n'ojjawo. Are you understanding? Yes, for that reason, God does not kill. It is let us understand the principles. God gives life. So death is a result of another power, another intruder into God's area, and that intruder decided to take away what God had given. What did it do? It took away life. It killed. So death is not a result of what? God. It is an intruding power, and that power, Paul and his colleagues have helped us to understand it is sin. So sin is a power that intruded God's creation, and that power annihilates life. It's a state of being. So Katonda bw'amala otonda gwa amanya ne kati nno kyo wabagamba nti no, the day you will eat, you will surely die. That statement is revealing that the life he has given them will cease to be what? To happen. Will be normal. Kakati Paul, kati wetujira ku Paul agamba nti no, Christ died. Nga tetunagenda in it, we shall not all die. He's saying, Jukira, Christ is God. We say the pillars of Christianity. The first one, God came. God lived and ate and defecated. Now God died. Kati Katonda bw'afa kitegeeza amaanyi gali agajjawo obulamu naye gamukoze eki? Gamujje mu budde. Katonda kakati Pawulo bino byabajjukiza ssebo, si bigambo byakujjukiza buntu nti for what I received I passed on to you of first importance, byebisookerwako, that Christ died. Ekyo oba tonda kimiitinga, you have not yet met the gospel. Nti Katonda yennyini amaanyi gali agamu intrudinga. Twasole tukama nti naye amaanyi ago gavaawa ne gayingira. Kati amaanyi tegayingira buyingizi ne gasaalimbira muki? Mu matwalo ge. Naye gaamukola ki? Gaamumegga. Nti God died. Now he's telling us another mystery. Now this mystery is a result of the first mystery, God dying. Ageza kugamba nti okufa okwo kwa Katonda tekwali kwa cessation. It was the death that God died was not to cease God to exist. God's death had a function, and that's why we get, why did Christ die? I mean, why did God come? God came to die, to fight sin. So because sin is climax, I mean the power, the ultimate of power in this power that he intruded, that is called sin, is in death. Katonda yali alina kufa to meet death at its greatest point, its greatest strength. Amaanyi againtrudinga kyegasinga okukola, kyegasinga okumanya kukujja mu budde. Gano amaanyi gakola n'ebirala bingi. Sin does a lot of things. Yes. But if you want to have it, if you want to fight sin, you don't fight it at what else it does. You look for its what? Climax. The command center. There's a movie I've been watching on Target TV. There's been, is it Vikings? Vikings. The man around which Vikings was designed was called Ragnar. Ragnar Rothbro. But he had something unique about him, that the reason he would win his wars, that when he takes his army and they start fighting, for him he stands somewhere and he looks for the command center. Ye anonyanga ani abadumira ayimiriddewa kati ye bwakuba atalikira ado bwayimiridde akuba agenda wali wadumira wakola ki wali bano balwana bakola ki simanye shield wall zibi ga ye Ragnar yakuba agenda wali omudumiza bono ngo vaawo ngo ngatuka ku budumizi bwe akuba ku mutwe kasita oli nga kiwe. Kati what the New Testament is revealing is that what God did sikutandika ate amaanyi gayingiddewo kakati ate gatandise okukola kya ye yamanya amaanyi gano gayina ki? Amaanyi, strength the strength of sin is in what? In death. So he had to meet death at its greatest point of strength. That's the reason God came to die. Yalina okugasisinkana amaanyi gano wowe gakyasingidde okukola. Katonda teyafa kuggwaawo. Teyafa aggweewo ngaffe we tuggwaawo. Yafa agasisinkane. Kati when the New Testament says he is risen, they are announcing a victory. In the New Testament mindset, when you say he is risen, you are announcing a victory. Nti bwe yagenda n'agasisinkana wegakola ki? Wegasingira okubeera n'amaanyi. Yagalwanyisa n'agakola ki? N'agawangula. N'avaayo. Are you understanding? Kati that's what Paul is communicating. Behold, I tell you a mystery. After Christ dying, naffe tetugenda kufa. So 1 Corinthians 15:51 is communication of a result of the first revelation of Christ dying. He is saying that behold, I tell you a mystery. Listen, I tell you a mystery. We will not all die. We will not all sleep. But now he's bringing it. Now dying becomes temporary. You see, dying is temporary. Now when he brings this, but we've always on the group we have always told people when we are discussing here, be careful how we are using the word what? But people don't listen. They keep. Now it is here. It is used before a temporary event. That's the syntax of the word but. So when he said we will not all sleep, because sleeping is what? Is temporary. Dying is what? Is temporary. Dying, now that Christ died and fought sin and won, dying becomes what? Temporary. But what comes now when you bring the conjunction but, after it you bring a permanent statement. So before it is a temporary what? Statement. We shall not all what? Die. Dying, that is temporary. Now he brings a permanent statement. What is the permanent statement? But we will all be changed. Now the word changed. In translation alone, in translation it means to bring something different. In just translating it means, the word used means bringing something different. You cease something happening currently, you cease it to happen. No switch be pure. No ka switch akalala akatandika ekintu ekipya kikintu kyagera. You cease one to exist and then you start something what? New, something different. Now, as if that one is not enough, we shall all be changed. Nti fenna tugenda kukola ki? Kukyusibwa. Kati kyetugezaho kugamba kino nti mukwano gwange yabadde akola ebintu. Because fenna tujja kukola ki? Tujja kufa. Yes, and there are many of us Christians who do things because we are all going to do what? To die. It is we are supposed to plan with death in mind. But we're not supposed to do things as if we are all going to do what? To die. I don't know if I'm being understood. We are supposed to plan with death in mind. Woba okola. Woba ofuna omusaala. Toli tulamala galya n'olya enkoko n'olya chips n'olya chicken ngo n'ozaala abaana n'opangisa nnyumba ya bukadde bubiri n'okola ki n'ovuga emmotoka ng'atamanyi nti okufa gye kukola ki gye kuli. Yes, nedda kola byokola with death what? In mind, but know inherently that we shall not all die. Nti amaanyi gano ag'ekibi agatujjawo galwanyisibwa. Kati wenzira ku implication ya change nti we galwanyisibwa. Kati Paulo wali awandikibwa ekigambo kino change yakiwandiika passively. The verb is passive. Kati Paulo omuyudaaya omufalisaayo gwe baasomesa since childhood nti buli kimu kyonna olina okyekolera. They taught Paul that to be accepted by God, you must do everything for yourself. That's what a Pharisee teaches. You see, they teach that you must be involved in everything. Yes, empisa olina okusalawo gwe kennyini okuzikyusa. It's the reason they used to baptize themselves every day in their homes mu compound yaabwe. Oba kitegedde nga he takes it upon himself to alina okwekyusa. It is active. A Pharisee will never live a passive life. Nga bamikolera mukolezi nedda. Pharisees live active life. Buli kimu bakimukolera. Ne wakatonda ye yetwalayo. He is so much involved. CV ye nakola kino. Nawe ekitundu ky'ekkumi. Nawasa omukyalo omu. Buli we nalabanga wakakete n'engenda nembatiza. Nenkola bweti. Nawangayo ebirabo. Nagenda ku church. Is active. That is his CV. But Paul agamba nti no, this changing, unfortunately, is passive. Amaanyi amalala gagenda kuva wabweru. Passive means amaanyi outside your control is responsible. Our changing, the changing that God counts, comes from him.
Amen.
Yeah? Changing the New Testament, we're going to change this transformation. It is passive. Or what you get? In the midst of contexts like death, that I know, choice of what until God comes and changes things. He seizes something to happen and makes another start. In life, it is an attribute of God, which attribute he has also given us to seize certain things in our lives from happening, to cause one thing to cease and start another. Tobera stuck into events. Don't be stuck by relationships. Don't be stuck by state of your wallet. You can always, in you, God has given you the what? Has extended to you. The fact that you are living, He has extended to you the ability to seize one thing from. Endala. So when people are living, we are expected to cause certain things, to seize certain things. I've told that to many people that I'm no longer an SDA. It's chiuli kikachitia. It is the yes, no, we can seize things from happening and we start other things. Ebintu bisobola okulekerawo. Yes, nolwekyo oba ina gw'olina naye gw'oli naye please kimanye nti asobola okulekeraawo okubeera naawe. Asobola okulekeraawo. It is part of human beings in life. Asobola okulekeraawo okubeera naawe. Osobola okulekeraawo okubeera omwavu. Yes, you can end that story. Yes, and start another. You can end that story. Yes, such too funny that that power called poverty can't end. No, you can end it. On the motivational part, you can end that story and start another. You can cause another to take place. It's a mystery of Paul, so we're going to continue. We shall all be changed. Our current, because of Christ's death and resurrection, current state here, ejja kusizinga Katonda tandikewo state eki empya. Yes, tuleme kukola bintu nga abagenda okufa. Yes, tukole ebintu nga abatagenda kufa. We shall all be changed. God bless you.